Now I am an old man. My hair, once dark and full of life, is now completely white. My hands, once strong and firm, now tremble a little when I try to hold something. Every day I sit by the window and watch the trees outside. The wind blows, softly moving the leaves, and with it, my memories return like waves in the sea. Some make me smile, others make me cry. I remember Sarah, my wife. She was the kindest woman I ever knew. Her smile was warm, brightening even the grayest days. Her sweet way made our house feel like home. We had 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. I worked hard to give them everything I never had. Long nights, awake, exhausting days. But it was worth it. Sarah took care of our home with love, making sure everything was in place. She cooked with care and helped the children with school. Our house was full of laughter, mess, and love. It felt like those. Happy days would never end, but time passes. The children grew up. They started going out, making friends, living their own lives. I understood. That is how life works. But deep inside, I felt a little sad. Before, they ran to hug me when I came home from work. Now they spent less and less time at home. Sarah always said, "They will come back. They love us." And I believed her. Then one day, Sarah got sick. First, it was small pains. Then, she was always tired. Soon she could not get out of bed. I did my best. I cooked for her, held her hand, and told her our old stories to make her smile. But she was too weak. One quiet night, she looked at me and said softly, "Take care of the children. They need you." That night, she closed her eyes forever. My heart broke. Our home, once so full of life, became quiet and cold. I hoped my children would stay with me, fill the empty space. But they had their own lives. At first, they visited me. Then, the visits became rare. And now, only silence remains. One day, they asked to talk to me. They sat beside me and spoke in a calm but firm voice. "Dad, you cannot live alone anymore. It is better for you to stay in a nursing home." My heart hurt. I wanted to say no. I wanted to shout that I was still strong, that my house held my memories, that every corner was part of my story. But when I looked into their eyes, I saw the decision was already made. I just nodded and went. Now I live at the Golden Years home. The name sounds nice, but the reality is different. The place is clean, organized, and quiet. The halls are long and bright but cold. Other elderly people sit in their chairs staring at nothing. Some talk to me, but most of the time silence is my only companion. The nurses are kind, always in a hurry, moving from one place to another. They bring me food, give me medicine, and sometimes offer a small smile, like trying to bring light to a cloudy day. Every morning, I wake up before the sun rises. I sit by the window and watch the sky change colors from deep dark to soft orange. That is the only time of the day I feel peace. But soon, the day begins, and with it, the emptiness returns. I think about my children. Where are they now? Are they happy? Do they ever think of me? I remember when they were small, their loud laughter filling the house, their tiny hands holding mine. I remember Sundays in the park, running on the grass, late nights helping with homework. I worked hard, very hard. My hands were always rough, but my heart was full of love. I wanted to give them everything I never had: toys, clothes, safety. They were my joy, my pride, my everything. And now they are far away. Sometimes the phone rings. My heart races with hope. "Hello, Dad? How are you?" And before I can answer slowly, before I can say I miss them, that I want to see them, "We are so busy, but we will talk soon, okay? Take care." I understand. Life is fast. Work, kids, bills, worries. I know they don't mean to hurt me, but still, I wish they would visit. Just for a while. To tell me about their day. To let me hear their voices without the rush of time. One day a nurse stopped beside me and gave me a notebook. "Try writing your memories," she said with a gentle smile. It might help. I took the notebook and ran my fingers over the smooth cover. Maybe she was right. Maybe if I write, I can keep the parts of me that seem to be fading away. Maybe, at least on paper, I won't feel so alone. At first, I didn't know what to write. My fingers trembled as I held the pen, as if my heart was afraid to put words on paper. But then, something happened. The memories came like a river breaking a dam. I wrote about Sarah, her voice soft like a warm summer breeze, her laughter making everything lighter. I wrote about my children, their first wobbly steps, their bright eyes when they discovered something new. Slowly, the notebook was no longer just blank pages. It became my friend. Every night, before sleeping, I wrote. It felt like talking to someone who didn't interrupt, someone who wasn't too busy to listen. I wanted my children to read it one day, to understand how much I loved them, how every decision I made was for them. But sometimes, a question haunted me. Would they ever read it? Maybe they were too busy. Maybe I was no longer in their thoughts, just as I was no longer in their days. That thought felt like a heavy stone in my chest. But I kept writing. It was all I could do. The days in the home were always the same. Breakfast at 8 a.m., lunch at noon, dinner at 6 p.m. Between meals, I sat by the window, watching the world move forward without me. But there was a garden, small but alive. Red roses, white daisies, yellow tulips. Sometimes I sat there for hours, watching the birds. Did they feel joy or loneliness, like me? One afternoon, while watching the flowers, a boy appeared. He ran to me, smiling, his eyes full of curiosity. He was the son of a nurse. "Hi, Grandpa." For a moment, my heart stopped. Grandpa. How long since someone called me that? His smile reminded me of my son when he was small. Before I knew it, the boy sat beside me. "Do you have stories to tell?" I nodded and started talking. I told him about my childhood in a small village, where fields were green and the sky was endless blue. I spoke about the tall trees my best friend John and I used to climb, about the clear river we swam in during hot summer days. The boy listened, with shining eyes. And for a moment, I felt alive again. That night, I did something different. I called my oldest son. When he answered, his voice sounded far away, like he was in another world. "Dad, I have been so busy, but I promise I will try to visit." Promise. Always promising. The next day, I wrote letters to each of my children. Days passed. I waited, not expecting much. But then, one morning, a nurse brought me a letter. It was from my oldest son. He promised to come, and I waited. Every afternoon, I watched the entrance, my heart beating faster at every shadow, until finally he arrived. "Dad, I'm here." Behind him, 2 children held his hands. He hugged me, and for the first time in years, I felt his warmth. His children gave me colorful drawings, small pieces of love on paper. My once empty room was full of life again. A few days later, my daughter came. She hugged me tight and whispered, "I promise to visit more, Dad." Slowly, I felt the hole in my heart close. Over time, I learned something important. Life is not about what we give, but about the moments we share, and I knew Sarah would be proud.